In a world addicted to noise, constant input, and endless distraction, few realize the truth. Success begins in silence. Silence is not emptiness. It is power. It is in silence that ideas are born, purpose is refined, and clarity is found. Great minds, from Stoic philosophers to modern billionaires, understand that silence is where the inner voice grows louder than the outer chaos. It is where self-awareness replaces confusion, and decisive thought replaces emotional reaction. Silence builds mental discipline. It trains the mind to observe instead of react, to choose thoughts rather than be controlled by them. In this stillness, you develop confidence, vision, and intention, the very traits that fuel long-term success. Most people chase external achievement, but the truly successful start from within. They master their thoughts in quiet before they conquer in the world. Because, in the end, loud results come from silent preparation. Success doesn't start when the world sees you rise. It starts the moment you sit still, listen inward, and decide who you're going to become. True success doesn't begin with noise, applause, or recognition. It doesn't start when the world sees your achievements. It starts long before that, in a place few dare to enter: silence. Success begins in silence is more than a poetic phrase. It's a principle practiced by the greatest minds in history. Because silence is not emptiness, it is mental clarity, emotional discipline, and spiritual alignment. In silence, there are no distractions, no opinions, no noise, just you and your thoughts. And that's exactly where transformation begins. Napoleon Hill taught that all riches begin with an idea, and ideas are born in the quiet corners of the mind, not in chaos. The Stoics trained daily to observe their minds in silence, knowing that inner stillness is the only path to true control. And modern high-performers, CEOs, athletes, artists, often practice meditation, solitude, or deep reflection to sharpen their focus and fuel their execution. Silence is where the inner game is won. Before the business is launched, the book is written, or the goal is achieved, there is a moment of stillness, a moment of vision, a decision. That quiet space is where success is born. But most people avoid silence. They fill every moment with noise, scrolling, talking, reacting, never stopping long enough to ask, where am I going? Why? What matters most to me? To embrace silence is to take full responsibility for your life. It's where mental noise fades, and the signal of your true purpose grows stronger. Because in the end, massive results come from silent beginnings. In a world overflowing with noise, external and internal, true success begins in silence. Not the kind of silence that is merely the absence of sound, but the powerful, intentional silence where the mind resets, recalibrates, and remembers who it really is. So, if you want to be successful, if you want to build your business, if you want to build your dream life, then you've got to get to work. And so many times we hold ourselves back because we're scared. We're scared to fail. Modern life conditions us to believe that progress must always be loud, full of hustle, movement, applause, and constant communication. But the most profound breakthroughs, the most powerful decisions, and the most life-changing ideas are born not in chaos, but in stillness. Silence is a sacred space. It is the starting point of all creation. Personal, financial, spiritual, and emotional. Every book begins with a blank page. Every masterpiece begins in quiet observation. Every great leader, before commanding others, must learn to command their own thoughts in solitude. It's very hard to do anything when you're worried about what other people think. That's why most of the real big successes happen in silence. The biggest successes happen when nobody's looking, when nobody's paying attention. People don't realize this, but the most important months in any business, any endeavor, are the first 3 months. Those are the months where you're getting your butt kicked. Those are the months where you re-gone, now look at everybody else around you and realize that you are not making progress. Everybody else seems to be moving forward faster than you are, but it's in those moments where you have to double down. It's in those moments where you have to push harder. It's in those moments where you have to work through the fear, the uncertainty, the doubt, and just keep putting one foot in front of the other. The entrepreneurial life, the successful life, is not for everybody. You know, most people want to be successful. They want the accolades, they want the praise, they want the fame, they want the fortune. But what they don't realize is that there's a price to pay for those things. And so what I try to do is help people understand what that price is, because it's not worth it. If you're trading your time, your energy, your passion, your soul for money, for recognition, for praise, That's not worth it. That's a high price to pay. So what I try to do is help people understand what that price really is. And then I also try to teach them how to pay that price without sacrificing themselves. And so when you're able to do that, then you have a shot. Then you can become successful on your own terms. One of the things that I always tell entrepreneurs is that you have to get comfortable being success is when you're starting a business, when you're doing something new, when you're stepping outside of your comfort zone, it's going to be you're going to feel like you're not making progress. You're going to feel like you're not smart enough, you're not talented enough, you're not whatever enough. But you have to get comfortable with that. You have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that's where the magic happens. That's where you grow. That's where you learn. And so many times we want to avoid that. We want to avoid the things that make us feel uncomfortable, because they make us feel vulnerable. They make us feel scared. But it's in those moments where we have to lean in. It's in those moments where we have to push through. It's in those moments where we have to get comfortable being uncomfortable that we really grow as individuals, as entrepreneurs, as business owners. I'm reminded of a quote by Carl Jung that says, "No tree can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell." And what he meant by that is that you can't achieve greatness unless you're willing to go through the darkness, go through the scary stuff, the things that make you feel like you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you don't have enough of whatever. You gotta get past that. You gotta get through that. You gotta push through that, because that's where the magic happens. So many people are not willing to go to those dark places. They're not willing to go through that darkness. And so they can never achieve the greatness that's within them. If you want to be successful, if you want to live a life of purpose, if you want to live a life of passion, then you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. You have to get out of your comfort zone. You have to face your fears head on. And so many times we run away from our fears. We run away from the things that make us feel uncomfortable. But it's in those moments where we have to lean in. It's in those moments where we have to get real uncomfortable that we really grow. That's where the magic happens. So many people want the magic, but they don't want to do the work. But the work is where the magic is. There's a saying that I really like. It says, "Act now. The time is always right." And what that means to me is that there's no perfect time to do anything. There's no perfect time to start a business. There's no perfect time to start working out. There's no perfect time to start dating that girl you've been eyeing. There's no perfect time. The time is always right. Now, sometimes the time is going to be right when you're young. Sometimes it's going to be right when you're in your 20s. Sometimes it's going to be right when you're in your 30s or 40s or 50s. But the point is, there's no perfect time. The time is always right. What you have to do is act. You have to take action. And so many times we hold ourselves back because we're waiting for the perfect time. We're waiting for everything to be lined up. We're waiting for the planets to align. But the planets will never align perfectly. You have to get up and take action. You have to get up and do the work. And so many times we don't do that. We don't take action. We don't do the work. And so we never really accomplish our goals. We never really achieve our dreams. So here's what I challenge you to do. Get uncomfortable today. Do something that scares you today. Take some action today. Don't wait for the perfect time. Don't wait for everything to be lined up. Don't wait for the planets to align. Act now. The time is always right.